Okie dokie. Hi, everyone. So, for everyone who's new, my name is Yana, and essentially, I talk about things that I read or think about and try to explain them in a very short, content format matter. That was a long sentence. Anyways, I was again thinking about Atomic Habits, which I did talk about. And if you don't know the book, essentially, it's a book in which I think the author's name is James Clear, talks about how changing your life for the better happens in incremental steps that compound over time. So he's talking about leverage, right? And we as humans, we don't understand compounding effects. So we think in linear systems, right? So when we assume something is growing, we think, well, a bit each day, nothing really significant when growth in reality is compounding and, happens very fast if you come close to a threshold. And I was thinking about it in terms of skill acquisition and essentially, even generating money for yourself and living the best life that you can live. Because I feel like that the book doesn't really go into it. And I don't remember what video I was watching, but essentially the main idea was that your peak in life, they're not your 20's, right? Which made me so happy because I'm 20, like turning 20 this year, and I don't want to feel old and I don't want to feel not accomplished. So I liked the video. That's the main thing. I liked it because it ensured me that the 20's that I'm facing, they're not the time where I'm the best, actually. And that is because of a very simple reason. I don't know enough, I haven't worked enough, and I didn't experience enough. So, in my case, even though I did work a bit, it doesn't make me qualified, right? Like it makes me maybe a bit easier to onboard and to talk about what I did in last jobs, but overall, it doesn't make me more efficient, probably. And it doesn't make me, as someone who worked in any way, special because I feel like a lot of people, by the way, just because of the job market, do treat themselves as, a bit different because they work. Um, Different discussion, by the way. Second thing, so we talked about skills, right? Experience. Now here's the thing, life experience is like you need it. And considering that we are spending so much time on social media, I don't know where we can gather these life experiences. Gen Z might be the first generation who essentially lives off of memories that they didn't create. They live off people that they saw on the screen and were like, yeah, I experienced that. Yeah, you did not, you didn't try the sport, you didn't try your hobby, you didn't start, you didn't finish, you didn't document anything. And so that's a huge thing that doesn't happen until essentially you're in your 20's and you gain autonomy and you live abroad, you maybe study in a different city, you feel like, oh, I don't like the city, this and that, and you discover yourself because you're putting yourself out there. And as long as you're not doing that, you won't be growing. So that's the second thing. Now, I think I did mention, I forgot what I mentioned, but I feel like for the compounding effect to really come into effect, you need one more thing, it's connections. So when you look at very accomplished people, like very happy people in life, they have a social circle. And I believe there is even a Harvard study where, they were seeing how successful people live and age. And I think what they found out that the most, like the happiest people, and the healthiest ones were the ones that had a social circle. So again, you do have a social circle when you're 17, 19, 18. That doesn't like I even you know what? Skip that. When you're in your teens. Okay. And in your 20's, you see so many people. Like at uni, I see so many people from all around the world, and I'm like, I've never been there. And you also see people that are very like you, they have similar attributes. Maybe they grew up in the same city as you, which is like very fun because you can connect over that. So you see a lot of things and you meet a lot of people, and you don't know when you might need these people again. I'm not saying that like that you should be using people, that's never the goal, but you need to have connections in order to help yourself. Because maybe you do need help from, someone who is a chemist because you're trying to create your own material that is durable and that is better than what you have on the market. And you have a bit of an idea how to do it, but you have a friend who's a chemist, so you can go ask him. And I think that's also leverage. So we essentially have work, experience, and connections. And again, compounding takes a lot, like a lot of time. And I don't think that during your 20's, like specifically like 24, 25, you'll see the results yet, but you might see results, when you're like 32, 33, and you're still young, you can still do like things. Obviously, you might have a responsibility depending on whether you want to have kids or not, but you're still young, you can still do things. And that's where the compounding effect comes into effect. Stupid sentence. And I think that's where essentially your life starts to get better. That's why people, for instance, they choose long routes of education. That's why we have doctors. Doctors essentially rely on the concept of compounding because the first 6 years, they're not like they're studying and they're studying a lot, but what they study doesn't convert into treating patients alone. Then they do a residency for a few years, depending on what you choose, and they still need mentoring after that. But when you're like 40 in medicine or 35, you are accomplished because you've learned so many things and your network has been growing, and now you can treat patients on your own. So that, job is essentially depending that there is someone waiting for them after these 15 years or more so that they can be treated. And there's always someone sick, even within 15 years' time. So I feel like, as long as you don't think about the leverage that you can have when you just give it time, you won't know how great things will be. And yeah, I think that's it. Just take it as a thought. Maybe you do see the difference now in putting just a bit of effort every day because it compounds. Might take you years, but that's fine. It will compound. And then you'll see something you've probably never dreamed of. And that's what happens again with doctors, with startups. That's what they depend on for compounding effect. You have that with founders. It's the same thing as startups. You have that people who want to improve themselves. It's the same thing. And so maybe don't try to rush every day to be productive, to, achieve all the things that you wanted to do for the day, which is a great mindset. But again, just be consistent and you'll see your compounding come in effect in a few years. But I think you can wait.